Are you happy?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
so
fine.
if you're happy, then we'll make a start if everybody else is happy. Because we only have the room until 5:30, I think. Looking at Anna. And how old are the room from?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get to make a move. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Alex Sobel, I'm the chair of the All-Part Parliamentary Group on West Papua, and also the International Parliamentarian Trust and I'm really pleased to have this meeting. This is the first meeting of the IPWP since COVID. So obviously we've had 2 years, more than 2 year gap between meetings of the IPWP here in Westminster. However, we did recently have a meeting in the European Parliament, which is very exciting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come to it. We've got an excellent lineup of speakers today because we're really making some real traction and impetus on the cause of West Papua on a whole range of international institutions and with a range of parliaments and even governments. So I'm just going to introduce the speakers very quickly, then say a few things. I'm speaking first, and then hand over. So first of all, we'll hear after me from Benny Wender, who's the interim president of the ULMWP and long-term fighter for the cause of West Papua. Then we'll have Gorka, and I probably will mispronounce them, well I should know it by now, Ella Chavarrieta, who is a senator from the Basque Country and a senator in the Spanish Senate, and again, a long-term supporter of West Papua, and will update us on the news from the Spanish Parliament. Again, we have some good news coming out of Spain. Then finally, our legal advisor and supporter, Jen Robinson, who again is a very long-term supporter of the West Papua cause, and a very eminent barrister from Dowd Street Chambers here in London. So, first of all, I just want to update a little bit about the work of the IPWP and the all-party group West Papua here in the UK Parliament. Our main work has concentrated on human rights and the need for the United Nations Human Rights Council to send a delegation of observers to West Papua to undertake an investigation into human rights abuses in West Papua. This has effectively been agreed, that the Indonesian government have put up barriers, at some points real and now increasingly artificial, for that UN Human Rights Council visit. We have been collecting support right across the world for that UN Human Rights Council visit, including from the UK government to support that UN Human Rights Council visit in response to a written question I submitted to Amanda Milling, who is the Foreign Office Minister for Asia. We've recently, as I said, went to the European Parliament, and we have had support from the European Parliament and from the EU Commissioner, Josep Borrell, for that same visit. We have had a number of parliaments around the world and governments, including foreign ministers, in every continent support that United Nations Human Rights Council visit. That United Nations Human Rights Council visit is not just urgently needed, it is way past overdue. And our most immediate and urgent task is to see those United Nations Human Rights Council observers arrive in West Papua and undertake that work. The last time any external delegation went to West Papua was the World Council of Churches, who were also like the Human Rights Council based in Geneva, way back in 2019, February 2019, I think, yeah, that's correct, just 3.5 years ago now. And so having no international observation of what is happening in West Papua is completely unacceptable. And as I've said, the United Nations Human Rights Council agreed this visit, so it's time for it to happen. The IPWP are planning to visit the United Nations later this year. The British ambassador to the UN Human Rights Council, Reed French, has agreed to meet with me about this and other human rights issues. So I look forward to taking that request right to the heart of the UN Human Rights Council, and hopefully the IPWP can even secure a meeting with Michel Bachelet, who is the head of the UN Human Rights Council. Secondly, we've been working very strongly on the work around the unfortunate and devastating ecological destruction which is happening in West Papua. The ULMWP has produced this excellent report which I, along with Benny and others, launched at the Glasgow UN COP26 conference last November, and it's gaining traction amongst environmentalists and NGOs, and everywhere that we go we take a copy of the Green State Vision and we are gathering support from a huge number of NGOs and organisations, and we report back the loss of rainforest, the increase in mining activities, drilling, etc., which is having an effect on some absolutely unique species which exist in West Africa, for instance the tree kangaroo, which does not exist in Australia but only on the island of New Guinea. So there are a range of really important issues that we are tackling as the International Parliamentarians for West Papua, gaining support and traction globally. We're also adding, to my final point, to our network of vice chairs. So Gorka is here, who's the vice chair for the Iberian Peninsula. We have a vice chair for Central Europe, a vice chair for the European Parliament. President Puigdemont, we have a video. I'm just checking. We do have a video from him, who's a member of the European Parliament. We have a Scandinavian vice chair, vice chair in the Pacific, vice chair in Africa now. We are growing that network out. Hopefully soon we'll have somebody in the Americas. That's the next big breakthrough, and also in Oceania. So we've got a huge and growing network of parliamentarians and vice chairs now who are pushing that work in their regions, and we're gaining some real traction. I think without the vice chairs from throughout Europe, or except the UK, from that for a second, we wouldn't have made the breakthrough we've made through in the EU Parliament and with the EU Commission. The last sort of point about European parliaments is the importance of the Netherlands and the Dutch Parliament, and we've now made a breakthrough to there. We've got great support from the Member of Parliament in Holland, Don Cedar, who is supporting us and taking from the Dutch Parliament, have had a debate and had a motion as well, and are laying questions alongside other parliaments. And because of the history of West Papua as a former Dutch colony and the agreements that they signed, it is of vital importance we make that breakthrough in the Netherlands if we are to see progress in West Papua. So on that note, it's my great pleasure to hand over to Benny. Over to you, Ben.
Well, firstly, on behalf of the people of West Papua, I would like to greet you. Secondly, on behalf of the provincial governments and people of West Papua, I would like to thank you, Alex, for hosting this event, and for the guest speaker, Ajay and Gorka, who are welcome to the United Kingdom, and all the Member of Parliament. Lord Harris, thank you for coming to again, and this is really pleasing to every year again. Actually, thank you for this. Really give us confidence, and thank you. Today, I'm here speaking on behalf of people of West Papua, but sadly, two of the permanent founding father of the pre-Papua movement, Jacob Pryor, has passed away. We are all mourning, and one of the founding father of the National West Papua Parliament of West Papua also passing away. I would like to invite you just 1 minute to silence, and to remain silent. Let's stand here. Jacob Pryor is one of the founding father of the movement, and he's led the declaration, direct reaction of Indonesian illegal occupation back in 1971. He declared that we are not bound down with Indonesia, we will continue to fight. So his legacy is still alive, and today in this parliament, and they are really hard cry to speak out on behalf of the people of West Papua. And secondly, one of the women head of the National Parliament, Prakasya Jain. She is outspoken in the entire activism, as well as she is member of the Executive Council in the regions. She passed away so that morning. And today also remembering the Makota Buni, leader of the KMPB. He was assassinated cold blood in West Papua. Although still leader who has sacrificed their life for the cause of the West Papua. Today, across West Papua, people are supporting this meeting, and almost 7 regions are supporting this meeting, and you may see the whole video and Twitter everywhere. So West Papua, we still continue to cry and scream to UN High Commissioner Bashir, as Alex already stated. We hope that here is right place, and we know the British government already called at their voice to call UN High Commissioner Bashir to West Papua. I think that is really important, and because British government are member of the Security Council, also Human Rights Council, I think this is right place to be recalled again, because this is UN Human High Commissioner Fish is not initiated by the NGO or the UN itself, but this is called for 79 countries, and now the more 100 more, and UN EU Commission are also at the voice. This is total like 108 countries already speaking out. And in fact, the UN High Commissioner Fisher in China, and even the Chinese government never allow, and this is why Indonesia can't allow. This is nearly 3 years, so I think I bring this, raise this issue in this parliament, and I know the Lord Harris a weakness from the beginning when I arrived here, this country is picking up constantly and weaknesses. Now we're making a lot of progress, and I think, again, on behalf of my people, I would like to thank you, Lord Harris. You're constantly doing this almost 20 years now. The issue of West Papua already not activist level, but in United Nations already reaching that level. And a few years ago, people of West Papua already vote for referendum. 1.8 million. That voice, British government need to recognize, because this is real voice. I think 50, 60 years, British government and international community only listen what Indonesia say, but now I think time for the big country like Britain, America, Australia, New Zealand to listen. I want to say what my people want already. And we have a vision. We offer to the world that we have a vision. Even we are still fighting, but we have offered a vision. This is the Green State vision that we are offering. And we know that the world are now facing climate change, crisis, environmental damage are caused by climate change. But also, when you support Indonesia, means you are also directly to support Indonesia, cutting our forests, cutting our mountain, rivers. For example, now Indonesia building this Papuan highway. This is not for development. People of West Papua are not asking development. People of West Papua asking for peace and justice. That's what the people of West Papua are. But what Indonesia is doing now, brings development on behalf of the development and destroy the rainforest. If you destroy the West Papua rainforest, this means that you are directly killing the survival of humanity, because West Papua is a part of the planet Earth. That's what our visions are already clear. So this is why it's important for me, again, we need the UN High Commissioner visit to West Papua. It's very important. Allowing journalists to enter the West Papua and withdraw all the military. And I'm already request the make statement 2019 that I'm ready to engage with the President of Indonesia to find a solution according to the international mechanism. United Nations or British government, anybody could facilitate the talk with President of Indonesia to find a solution referendum. That's what I call with my people. I think that final word I want to state it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benny. I'm now really pleased to be able to hand over to Gorka, who I've already seen today. We've had a meeting, we discussed maps, how we can progress. We talked actually about the trip to Geneva to visit the United Nations, but I think Gorka maybe talk about the work that he's been doing in the Spanish Senate and the Spanish Parliament.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here. A pleasure to share this table with Jen, with Alex, and with President Wenda. I'd like to tell you how is that I am here today. I think that's an interesting story, and it might help us on seeing how we can work this case in the international community. And in my case, at least, I didn't know much. My involvement with West Papua is much more recent than others in this table. I didn't know much about West Papua 3 or 4 years ago. So how is that I'm here? In my case, two main reasons. The first one is that we Basques we had a long-standing relation with New Caledonia. For many years, decades, we have shared many relations with the Kanaks. And it was the Kanaki people, the FLNKS, who spoke to us and told us of the importance of supporting the West Papuan case. So sometimes it does work, the international solidarity, international relations. The second is that when we look closer to the West Papuan case, we saw a clear case on which we were facing a case of non-finishing of the colonization process, a clear case where the self-determination right should apply. And I don't know if more importantly, but at least more urgently, a clear case where humanitarian violations were happening on an everyday basis and on a greater scale. So these are the two reasons that brought us to the West Papuan case. Trying to lobby, trying to help for a political solution that will acknowledge West Papua with the right to self-determination, and second, trying to assure that human rights violations stop. So the question is always it's difficult to answer because it's not always easy to find ways on which what we do has an effective impact on the ground. And it's not always clear that what we are doing back home might help in any way the case of someone else. As I've said, I come from the Basque Country. We have had a peace process which was quite unlike others. And it was quite unlike others because at a certain point the Spanish government was not willing to sit at the other side of the table. And I can see that when you have a state like maybe Indonesia that is not acknowledging, at least publicly, that there is a political conflict going on, is not acknowledging that there is a people which might have legitimate claims, which is not acknowledging the need to change its policy towards West Papua and to engage in any kind of political dialogue. It's very difficult to move the process forward. So what can be done? And I don't have the answers. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. We all know that it's completely different, but I think that we can learn from different experiences. And the role that the international community has played on different cases from South Africa, in Northern Ireland, the Basque case even, where the international community has played the role that the state, in this case Indonesia, was not willing to play. I can say that in many peace processes, in many conflict resolution processes, the international community has not only facilitated or made the mediation role, but they have become everything what international parliamentarians from West Papua is trying to do for the last years. And in our case, I'm not going to repeat what they have said. I think the priorities are clear. I think Alex is doing a great job of changing this international network. We need to get a UN Human Rights Commissioner to go to West Papua. As you know, Bachelet is Chilean. You probably don't know that 1/5 of the Chilean population has one of the 4 grandparents of Basque origin. So we will use the influence of the Basque diaspora on trying to get a bachelor degree. The new appointed government in Chile is also a government which I guess is close to the solution, a comprehensive approach towards the conflict in West Papua is one more reason for the international community to step forward and fulfill that emptiness that Indonesia is not willing to play. We've seen that in our case, and in so many cases on which one of the parties is not willing to engage in talks, not willing to engage in negotiations. If they don't manage to make the other part disappear, and here clearly this is the case, they will not defeat the West Papuans. I don't think that will happen in the short, mid, long term. Then the issue will remain, and that's, I think, when we need to step forward and we need to try to bring the good practices and the cases of other conflict resolution on board. So I leave it there. Thank you.
I'd just like to welcome Richard Harries, Lord Harries, former Bishop of Oxford, and also Benny's Member of Parliament, the MP for Oxford East, and the Chair of the Labour Party, Annalise Dodds, to the meeting. We're now going to move on to our final speaker, and then we'll have an open discussion. So over to Jen Robinson from Street Chamber.
Thank you, Alex, Gorga, President Wender. My name is Jen. I'm from International Lawyers West Papua, and I thought I'd speak a little bit about what we've been doing with International Lawyers West Papua, a little bit about the international law position, which we all now hopefully know and understand, but a little bit more on that, and a little update on some of our activities over the past few years since we last met. So International Lawyers West Papua, which I co-founded, is a group of lawyers around the world which was set up with many support to provide legal advice and assistance to the United Liberation Movement. We are a network of lawyers with representation from here in the UK, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, and across the Pacific. Part of our work, I think, has been essential in helping Benny and the movement to properly lay out an international law position, to make clear that West Papua's cause is a just cause under international law, that they are entitled to independence under international law as it stands, and that position is absolutely clear. But also through some of our broader activities, we're trying to raise awareness through the UN, utilising the UN special procedures to raise complaints about what's happening in West Papua, so that we start to lay the groundwork for the political case that needs to be made by our ULMWP colleagues about what needs to happen to give effect to West Papua's right under international law. Just briefly on the international law position, this was made to the extent that it wasn't abundantly clear. You know that West Papua was a territory under UN administration, that Indonesia had an international obligation to give them a vote on self-determination, which was a democratic and fair vote under which all West Papuans were given the opportunity to vote, and we know that that did not take place. We were saying for many years that this was an unlawful situation, that it was a situation of unlawful occupation, but that is abundantly clear as a result of the Chagos Islands decision from the International Court of Justice. And together, working with Vanuatu, a key ally for the United Liberation Movement, we intervened on behalf of Vanuatu in the International Court of Justice case to lay down the marker of West Papua and to make sure that we made arguments under international law to preserve the position for West Papua. Now, the decision from the Chagos Islands, in the Chagos Island Advisory Opinion, clarifies international law in a way that makes it very clear. When West Papua was handed over to the United Nations and when Indonesia administered it as a ministerial power, it had a very clear obligation under international law. The consequences of not providing a democratic vote on self-determination is that this is an unlawful occupation, and as the ICJ said in respect to the Chagos Islands, that means that every single government in the world has an obligation to put an end to that unlawful occupation. Every single government has an obligation to contribute to that unlawful occupation. The same principles apply to West Papua. It is unlawfully occupied, and every single government must act to help West Papua to bring this to an end. Now, of course, That is the legal position, and we know that in international law it is incredibly political. So what do we need to do to implement that right? And that is why the work of ULMWP is so important, because we need governments at the United Nations taking action, political action at the UN to give effect to this international law right. But in the meantime, as lawyers, we've done what we can in terms of establishing the legal position, and we will continue to use whichever mechanisms we have available to us, given that West Papua doesn't have status at the United Nations as a country yet, but we're working towards that. We will be using every single mechanism available to us, working together with Vanuatu as a sponsor state of the ULMWP, but also through the available mechanisms that we have. And so just in the past couple of years, we've been focusing on trying to raise awareness of the human rights situation in West Papua. So we filed UN complaints, for example, for the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention on behalf of 63 political prisoners, most of whom were arrested and imprisoned for raising the West Papuan flag. It is a clear violation of international law. It is unlawful and arbitrary detention because they were exercising their internationally protected right to freedom of expression to raise the flag. We've also made complaints about the unlawful targeting by Indonesia of journalists and protesters and the disproportionate use of force, and the threats that have been made towards President Linda living here in the United Kingdom. So we'll continue to do the work that we can with the volunteer base that we have to continually put this on the UN agenda, and hopefully that by continuing to raise the human rights situation, it will provide more impetus and political momentum for governments to start to do the right thing. The one other last thing I should say is that colleagues of mine also worked on the Green State Vision, which I think has been incredibly important at the moment for the West Papuan movement and establishing itself. I had outreach from those working with President Lula, soon to be hopefully again President Lula, who would want to learn from the West Papuan experience. But I do think that the positioning around climate change and the role that West Papua could play in the region on climate is incredibly important, particularly as we move into a moment where, working together with the government of Vanuatu, we're trying to get an advisory opinion for the International Court of Justice on climate change obligations. And through that international advocacy work, Vanuatu is broadening its diplomatic reach globally, which I think is an opportunity in the future for West Papuan advocacy. So with that, I will open that. Thank you very much for everyone being here, and of course Lord Harry's, Alex, and our members of Parliament who do such a great job, and we are here to support you, so we can support you with this.
Oh, that's great. So, yeah, thank you for reminding me. So the last thing we need to do actually before we open the floor is we need to show the film from President Carter, who's now a member of the European Parliament, representing Catalonia. We can get the technology to work.
Yes.
We're now streaming the streaming as well, so that'll be interesting. And then we'll open the floor. Excellent, excellent. Here we go. We'll find out.
Good morning, President Benda. Good morning, Alex, and to all of you. Thank you very much, Alex, for inviting me to say a few words in this video. My intention was to be together with you here in London, but unfortunately, my freedom of movement could not be granted by the British government. About a month ago, I had the honor to host a launch of the ULMWP group in European Parliament. Today, the group is continuing its work and activities here in London. And as most of you know, the consequences of political persecution against political dissent in Spain are not allowing me to be together with you here in London. I want for West Papua the same I want for my country, no more, no less. Freedom and guarantees to exercise our right paying much attention to the trial against Victor Guillermo, who's facing life in prison of treason charge for calling for an independence referendum during a peaceful protest. And we are also aware of the judicial cases against the other pro-independence activists. I'm ready to bring this case to the attention of all members of the European Parliament should he receive a condemnatory sentence. I'm also ready to press the European Commission to freeze any possible trade agreement with Indonesia as long as fundamental human rights continue to be violated in West Papua. Thank you very much.
It's great to have the support of if Annalise, absolutely, Annalise Luss is chair of the ULMWP.
Well, thanks very much, Alex. I'm really, really sorry that I was late. I do apologise, Benny, and to all of the very esteemed guests who are here. It's really wonderful to have you here, and I want to thank you for all that you're doing for West Papua, which of course has a special relationship with my city, not least that, of course, Benny has been honoured by Oxford, and quite rightly so. I suppose just when it comes to questions, the last time that we met together, we talked about a number of issues, including, obviously, a long-running problem of the lack of access of UN and other missions to West Papua. And at that point, the excuse of the COVID pandemic was being used completely inappropriately. I just wondered if things had moved forward around that at all. I suppose the other question that I had was, for those from other jurisdictions and with the international expertise of the lawyers, how far they've been able to get with bilateral relations with Indonesia and pushing some of these issues, or whether it's just a complete kind of brick wall. I thought it would be interesting just to hear about any of those discussions. I mean, obviously we're trying to encourage the UK government to actually put these matters on the agenda with Indonesia, and they don't seem to have been willing to very much so far, but it'd be helpful to hear many examples from yourselves.
There might be a useful thing we haven't discussed actually there, and Jen might want to comment on it, and a colleague Tim's doing a lot of work on it, and that's the EU-Indonesia trade deal. So I'm going to comment on that, but before that, I mean, I might just recap my remarks, and Gorka might want to benefit from Mark come in, is that the agreement is there for the Human Rights Council. It's just that Indonesia are now fabricating reasons for it not to go. I've now secured the agreement to meet with the British ambassadors in the Human Rights French and potentially other members of the Human Rights Council, and we will attempt to have a physical visit to Geneva for that, and then also we'll try and secure a meeting with Michel Bachelet. Maybe our Basque colleagues might be in a better position, as so many Chileans, as he said, are of Basque origin, and try and utilise that to really put the pressure on. I don't feel at this stage that the issues lie with the UN but with Indonesia, but the UN could make it a higher priority for themselves. So, you know, I think it's fair to say in the IPWP, it is our #1 issue to get people from the Human Rights Council on the ground.
Tim's been working on the trade deal. Well, first, congratulations on your appointment within ULMWP. It's exciting to see the local member. I'd like to see you more. But I think it's true to say that we are looking at those trade deals to see what we can do, and it's really encouraging to see the movement, the support of so many wonderful Spanish members of Parliament, even the EU Parliament, to start moving ahead and putting more pressure here in Europe in a way that leverages up Benny's advocacy, which I think is incredibly important. And so I think we are looking to target that deal. My colleague Tim has been working on it, so he's better placed to speak to it. But
No, that's great. Okay. Brilliant. Anybody else? We'll close the meeting off. Just want to say that this meeting today was arranged at fairly short notice. It was triggered, if you like, because Gorka was in London. It was too good an opportunity to miss to have our Basque colleague with us. And Jen was also there after quite a long sojourn in Australia. So it was opportune, but we're looking at having a much bigger IPWP meeting with many more colleagues, and we will try and break the logjam. I think we're looking for some support of getting Carlos here without any risk of arrest, which is what we want. So he can present in person, but also some other vice chairs from Scandinavia, from Central Europe, and even further afield to be here with us. And also we're continually recruiting new vice chairs. We expect by the autumn to have even more. So it's to have a much larger meeting with parliamentarians from Europe. It's difficult to attract people from further away, but if possible, to have vice chairs from Europe and the UK Parliament here. And we're also planning have an IPWP meeting in the Scottish Parliament, which is a very early meeting for Benny. Up there we have very significant support from both Labour and SNP MSPs in the Scottish Parliament as well. So we're spreading our support globally and within the UK, and the political pace for West Papua, the drumbeat is gaining such prominence that it is being heard in Jakarta, and we need to make it deafening so we can make progress on all these issues.
Before we leave, I just want to let you know people of West Papua, across West Papua, supporting this meeting. And I want to welcome Gorka here because he's hosting me in his Parliament, both Senate and Congress in Spanish Parliament. I have a gift. This is coming from West Papua directly, so I want to present it to him today. And my people are watching all over the world, so this is something that traditional in the people in the Pacific. This is become traditional, so I want to give this to him, that they remember what he, and all the speaker, I think will give. They asked me to, when they speak, and we present it because all these flags in West Papua, more women making this flag, they've been arrested. Even this, holding this flag 25 years in prison. So I want to present this on behalf of the people of West Papua. Even 8 students been arrested last December, handmade flag. Now they're facing maybe 25 years. 8 students in West Papua. Victor James was still in prison. Many West Papuan. I was arrested just because of 25 years, but I managed to run away. So, on behalf of people of West Papua, I want to give you this, the voice of people of West Papua. Alex, I want to present it to you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. On that happy note, I think we'll close the meeting.